Hey guys, Magnus here, bringing you another video, and this one we're going to be talking about the Destination Springfield, or the Around the World event, or whatever the heck you want to call it, and 10 reasons why I think it's the best update we've had in a long time. Now, what would I say? I would say it absolutely destroys all of last year's updates. I would say it's much better than all of them, and some might disagree, but I think it just defeats them all. The year before that, maybe there's some competition there, but honestly, I just think this is the best update we've had in so long, and I'm going to give you 10 reasons why I think this. So we'll just get straight into it. Number one, it's creative. Now, this is a thing I have with tapped out updates. I don't want them to be redundant, I don't want them to be repetitive, and I want them to be creative. Now, I argue that the Superheroes 2 update was very creative. I argue that the Treehouse of Horror was very creative. The recent one we had. This one I think is even more, because they split it up into different countries, and I like that. And then they obviously made Norton the guy who leads the thing, which is just a completely random one anyway, because it's not like, well, it's not completely random. I say it's creative because we knew that he travelled around the world. We knew that he was Milhouse's uncle, and they sort of worked on that, and they made it made it obviously feel, and then they added in the airport, which is a building which I've wanted for ages. They added that in there, and they incorporated it, and they used it to make it. It's not like this came from an episode where they were traveling around the world, because that's very uncreative. That's kind of uncreative when you copy an episode and you just add the buildings. So, for example, at the Chiliad update, although I like it, it's not very creative because they just took an episode and adapted it into a tap out. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but this one, for example, it took multiple episodes and made it into one event, which I think is good, and I like it. Number two. My second reason, it adds really decent characters. I'm not gonna say they're amazing, because they're not amazing, but that's okay. They don't need to be amazing. We're 4 years in, 4 years. I think we're 4 years, 5 years. I don't even know how long we are, but we're so many years into the game. We can't expect good characters anymore. We can't expect amazing characters anymore. But I'll tell you why they are decent. First of all, they completed families. They're completing families. Norton, for example, that is Milhouse's uncle. It's another family member. Obviously, we still have Milhouse's grandmother. Sorry. So there are still ones they need to add, and I understand that. And I wish they kind of added his French grandma. I think she was French anyway. I'm not too sure. They could have added her, but it's okay. They don't need to. But another thing is they've added older characters. They're not just adding new characters. They're adding characters from ages ago. For example, the French guys. They're really old, and they're from a really, really old episode, but they made it work with Maurice as well, the donkey, and they made that episode complete, and that was one episode. I guess you could say Act 1 was based around that episode, but yeah, it was really good. And just all the characters overall I think are pretty cool. I know there are some blink and you miss it characters, and some characters that aren't particularly very good. Obviously we've got Cletus's diabetic cousin, which we're going to be getting as our Valentine's woman, and I would have preferred it if they made Valentine's a tiny bit bigger this year, but whatever. Maybe just adding one more character, but they're incorporating it into this event. Anyway, number three is Norton's minigame is really reasonable and it's fun. Now, they've tried to do similar things like this before. For example, with the Valentine's Day one we had ages ago, that god-awful Valentine's Day update, where it was quite big. They added quite a few characters, but the only problem with it is they had this like wheel. It was the same for Easter as well. I had the Easter boxes, where you had to open these boxes to get the prizes. And it just took forever, and most people didn't get anything. It actually took me, I had to hack it, and then I had to actually do it myself. And it basically took me forever to do it, and it was completely stupid. But this one is really reasonable. I've nearly completed it. I literally need to get one more thing now, and I just like the fact. I don't know if they're going to do one in Act 2. Maybe this is thing to Act 1. But if that was all in Act 1, I would gladly accept one for Act 2 and Act 3 as well, because it was really reasonable and it was easy to get. I mean, you could miss 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and you would still get all the prizes, which is great, because I think Tapped Out should reward the players that come on once a day. But it shouldn't go to the point where you have to literally go on once a day. It should reward them to a degree, but it should also make it available for people who miss a day or two. Anyway, number five, it ties in with Valentine's Day and the Super Bowl. This isn't exactly an amazing point, but I like the fact that it does tie in with Valentine's Day, and I like the fact it ties in with the Super Bowl. Something they may have been able to do with the Halloween and Christmas update, which I thought may have been pretty good, is what if they did, and I thought about this idea, what if they added in the Halloween stuff, and then they gave us like a mini sort of Thanksgiving-y / pagan event, and then they gave us all the pagan stuff, and they did this whole feud with the Springfield, and then for the actual Christmas, they brought in Christmas stuff. So then they would have connected the Halloween to Thanksgiving, to the pagan stuff, to the Christmas stuff, and I thought that would have been a really cool, like a nice flowing story arc. And then hell, they can even tie in the Home of the Heretic right at the end. That would have been a really, really good flowing one, but you know, they didn't do that. But I think that would have been cool if they did do it. But oh well. Yeah, and I like the fact that it ties in with the Super Bowl and the Valentine's Day update, because usually they're just sort of standalone ones and they're little, and I don't usually like them. Like the Super Bowl last year I didn't particularly like, and the Valentine's Day last year was, well, the Valentine's last year was really good. Now I guess that's one kind of, you could say it's a negative. The Valentine's Day this year isn't as good as last year's, but hey ho, we got a really good event out of it anyway. Number six, it added us lots of land and water. So this is quite self-explanatory. Obviously added another strip of water, which about 10 people reminded me in the comments section. I forgot about that. I did see it, I just thought the land was cool to notice. But they did actually add another strip of water in front of the one that we already have. So now we have, I think, 3 blocks of water, is it? Or 4? I forget exactly. But, yeah, that's really cool, because then obviously we can now the sea doesn't look so cluttered anymore. Yeah, but the land as well, same thing. We got loads of land, which is always good, because obviously you need land. And to be honest with you, I think they probably added more than they needed to from what I can tell is in this thing. So that's even better. So number 7, it involves all characters. Now this is a thing I argue. Well, I didn't argue, but Apperson mentioned. Now it lets you send any character. It's sort of random characters. It picks random characters. It can be any character though. That's the good thing. You know, I even had Doggy Smithers going, which is really weird. It just picks you any character to go on the airport, to go on the plane. Apart from like animals, I think. I don't, for some reason, let me do a Doggy Smithers, but I think he's not exactly entirely an animal. But yeah, any character, any living normal. A human, essentially. Actually, no, because I added Ladybot as well. I don't know. But yeah, basically, most characters, anyway, you can send them on the airport. But there's all other little tasks as well along the way. And I didn't do it most of the time, where you can send any character to do that task. Any 5 characters to do that task, for example. And it's the same for this. The airport, it just selects random characters, and I'm glad. And it doesn't just do the Simpsons, or it doesn't just do, you know, the main core characters. And that's why I think it's pretty cool. Obviously, also, for example, the French waiter got involved with the Krusty, the Le Krusty, because obviously he's French, and that's a restaurant, obviously, it's the Le Krusty burger. But the thing is he was never seen there. He was never seen in that building. He's not involved with that storyline. But they managed to incorporate it, and it was a creative way. Going back to my first point, very creative. Number eight, it's perfect timing. It's absolutely perfect timing, okay? So we had a crappy Xmas. We have just came into the new year. We had the Home of the Heretic, which was a little, but it wasn't enough, I don't think. And now we've been given this, which has kind of relieved us. You know, it's the first big event we've had this year, and it's perfect. And that's what I love about it. You know, the timing is just absolutely perfect. And I know it kind of came at a... It kind of came at a cost, because we now aren't having a particularly big Valentine's Day update. But I think, hey ho, you win some, you lose some. I think this is perfect no matter what, and I'm glad. Number nine is it only added 1 costume, and I forgot to mention this. This is Sailor Komikyo, and it's the only costume they added. Which I'm glad they didn't overdo it in costumes. Now, they could have maybe added 1 more, but what they could have really done if they particularly wanted to, is they could have given us loads of costumes. I've seen loads of different things they could potentially make made into costumes, but they didn't. They made it into, you know, just the one Sailor Komikyo, which is kind of cool in itself, because it's a really unique costume. And we have never got a costume for Komikyo, and Komikyo is kind of a character who fell in the background after episode tie-in. So I'm glad that they've kind of given her a costume and actually made her involved a bit more, which I like. But I'm glad they haven't overdone it in costumes. I'm glad we're only getting 1. We might get another one, I imagine, that another one could pop up, but we don't know. Probably not, though. We're probably just going to stick with this one, which is good. I'm glad they only added 1 costume. I'm beginning to think more and more that I just wish costumes were never done, in some ways. I mean, they are cool, but I don't know. I don't know. I'd prefer it maybe if it was just a task, because you never see them in that, you know. Anyway, number 10 in the final one is it opens loads of doors to a part 2, a part 3, and possibly a part 4. I could definitely see it getting 3 parts this, and that's what I love about this. What if they made this a yearly thing? What if they made this every year. No, maybe not. I don't think every year, but I reckon they could do it at least 3 years running, possibly 4. There's loads of places that The Simpsons have travelled, and of course what all they're doing here is they're just taking travel episodes, free travel episodes, 3 different countries, and 3 times the times that the Simpsons have been to those countries, and that's all they're doing, and it's perfect. And there's usually a character there which everyone knows. For example, with France, we had the French guys. With Brazil, we had Ronaldo, and we had the tap dancing guy and all that. And for example, you could go with the Safari update, which I did, with which was in Africa, and you have the tour guide, and you also have the woman who was exploiting the apes, and then you could probably exploiting the chimps, and then you could probably add a chimp as an unplayable character. That right there is a perfect Act 1. Which I just thought up on the spot. No, I didn't. I planned that one before. And that's what I love about this. It just opens so many doors to a part 2. And I especially see this part having a part 2. I'd be very surprised if it didn't at least get a part 2. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little video, guys, to why I think this is the best update we've had in a while. Please tell me your thoughts. Do you think the same way? Do you think that this is the best update that we've had in a long time? Maybe I've convinced you. I don't know. Please tell me your thoughts, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.